Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and I just got back from the new film Looper. Joseph Gordon-Levitt plays an assassin who kills people who are sent back in time from the future when time traveling is invented. But in this future, time traveling has not yet been invented, and it's only used by organized crime. They send people back in time to a certain point, and these guys, loopers, go and shoot them. So they're like, this guy will be here at 11:30 at this spot. They go to the spot, and they check their watch, and then when it's 11:30, the guy appears, and they shoot him. However, if you are a looper, your loop will end at a certain point, and after you leave looping, 30 years later, they'll find you and send you back to the past, and you will actually have to kill yourself, but your older self. And when you do this, you've completed your loop. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who is a looper and a very successful looper and has been one for a long time, his future self, who's played by Bruce Willis, comes and fights him off and escapes, and he has to go and kill his older self, because if you don't kill your older self, then the people you're working for aren't going to be very happy. So they're looking for both of them, and he's looking for him, and it's all kind of a cat and mouse game. There's a lot more to it, but I don't really want to give away more than the trailer, because this movie's very dense. It's a lot denser than you'd expect it to be. Rian Johnson has really combined a lot of different influences to make a very postmodern kind of science fiction movie. Sci-fi, frankly, is a newer genre. I mean, there's obviously Metropolis and A Trip to the Moon. It's been around for a while, but didn't really start being made like the way westerns and comedies and other genres are until about like Star Wars. And when Star Wars and Aliens happen, they're very postmodern. You know, Star Wars is a Akira Kurosawa Cowboys in Space, and Alien is a haunted house movie combined with a sci-fi movie, combining genres and making something new, like Escape from New York in its example, and a lot of the work of John Carpenter. This is the first movie in a while to bring the noir back to tech noir. It has a lot of Western influence, and it also has a lot of sci-fi in it. You can tell, much like those older directors back then, that this is Rian Johnson, the director of this film, is really someone who loves movies, and not just like newer movies and what's happened in the last 30 years. He loves movies in general. You can tell the way the guys who are going after both Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Bruce Willis are dressed in these kind of cowboy black outfits, you know, these long kind of coats that go down to their knees. They look like in westerns, you know, the bad guys wore black. The guys who are looking for you were wearing black. That's how you knew they were bad, because they're wearing dark colors. Very simple visual kind of storytelling, and I really like that about this film, that it combines that, and the way even they're all holding their holsters, the way they hold their guns is very Western. He has this voiceover in a very noir sense. You know, it's a very noir voiceover, how this starts and how Joseph Gordon-Levitt is telling you everything and setting up everything and explaining everything about that world. It reminds me of the very cliche thing of noir, like how Double Indemnity, they use that narration to set everything up, and he does that very well. There's certain points when Bruce Willis and Joseph Gordon-Levitt are separated, and they're really like actually in two different genres at the same time. Like Bruce Willis has stepped over into more of a noir, while Joseph Gordon-Levitt is into more of a western. And the way he like infuses them all together, I can't think of such a postmodern science fiction movie that's come out in probably a decade. It combines so many influences to make something really truly original, and use those influences in a really smart way, and like flesh them out and let them be themselves, but also, you know, using them to his advantage. It's also a very good time travel movie, having your older self and your past self trying to kill each other, and, you know, the different levels of experience you have from, you know, this young guy who's really thinking more of himself, whereas this older guy, this older self, who kind of knows that guy but is so separated from it. If you looked at yourself from a big gap in your life, from when you were, you know, very young to very old, they are like two different people. It's very smart. It's very like almost self-aware in places. There's a point where Bruce Willis and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, they're at the diner together, and he's like, I don't want to talk about time travel shit, then we'll be like making diagrams with straws or something. You're like, oh my god, that's such a great self-aware moment. I know one of the guys from Primer actually helped work on this film. It's probably the best time travel movie I've seen since Primer. I knew this was a little noirish, I knew there was violence in this and everything, but I didn't realize how many smart influences would be in here. I mean, I see some John Ford. There's a certain part they do that shot from The Searchers that they also use in Star Wars, where the house is on fire, and what that represents to that certain character, and how that's like such a motivation to Bruce Willis when he sees his house in the future up in flames. It's 118 minutes. Honestly, it felt like it was 2.5 hours, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that I got so into this story, I really kind of lost all concept of time. I really felt like I was getting into a world, a sci-fi world. Like, it reminded me of seeing incredible sci-fi movies when I was a kid. Rian Johnson is somebody who movies are in his blood. You can tell that he absolutely loves film and loves the history of film. He's definitely an auteur filmmaker, but he's an auteur filmmaker who directs like a classic studio director. And there's not enough people like that now. He reminds me of Carpenter. Carpenter directs like an old school classic director, and Rian Johnson can direct like an old school classic director, but he also, has seen everything that's happened since then and understands how to use that just as well. In Brick, he has dialogue scenes. There's that scene with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Richard Roundtree, which is straight out of a noir film. It looked like a detective talking to the police commissioner, and instead it's a student talking to the principal. And in this, there's scenes that they look like they're straight out of a Western, but instead, they're shooting these future guns at each other, and someone's driving a hovering speeder bike. If you just looked at the dialogue, you could think it's a Western or it's a noir movie, but he places that in sci-fi in a really smart postmodern way. This kind of reminds me of how postmodern and sci-fi really had a nice marriage together when you look at films like Terminator and Back to the Future and Star Wars and Alien. This is fully in that tradition, and it's just a great fucking movie. And even at the beginning when I had my doubts, the film totally proved itself. I just got so into it, and it messes with tone, it changes itself. There's so many surprises, weaves in and out of genres. This is a really classic science fiction movie. So if you've seen Looper and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments, and subscribe if you would like to.